Well, Matt, I gotta congratulate you on your new job again. Man, you are switching careers all the time. But
You've done this bit for an entire goddamn year. When are you gonna spread your wings and try something new, Level Cap?
I don't know what bit you're talking about.
You've been doing it for literally a year. I've kept track to the date. Today is the day. Congratulations on your 1 year anniversary. The bit is officially 1 year old.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of congratulations are in order for your new job as the narrative director for Stellar Blade 2, your favorite franchise.
Thank you. Yeah. No, it's a huge honor. Thank you.
The director came out recently for the game and said that, yeah, the narrative was a bit lacking, but they're going to make up for it in the sequel.
Okay.
And I just, I had a little chuckle at that. I was like, narrative. Yeah. That's what people hopped on board that game for, the deep narrative.
Yeah. I remember it was fine. It was fine. It wasn't great narrative wise, but it was okay. People are there because it's a fun combat game with a pretty lady. That's about it.
What's the sequel? Since you're on the project now, do you have insights in the sequel name or like the boobening or the like bigger breasts or something?
Yeah.
Stellar Blade.
You nailed it. Yeah.
Okay. Sick. What's your changes going to be for the narrative this time around? Like, how you gonna make it more appealing or engaging, I should say?
Just in general, probably just less clothes.
Less clothes.
Just the entire. Yeah. I'm probably going to weave in a storyline about how clothes have actually, they've got a sentience behind them, and that by wearing clothes, it actually they control you subtly through
the microplastics. That's what it is.
Yes, microplastics.
This polymers.
This is also maybe the story of a certain anime, but that's besides the point.
Is there really an anime that's about?
There's an anime literally about clothes. Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
And that's why they don't wear a lot of clothes by the end of the show.
Oh my God.
Is it a justification for fan service? Perhaps.
I mean, how do people write that with it? They can't possibly write it with a straight face. They just have to be like laughing at each other. Like, get this, the clothes. They're going to like mess you up. So eventually you just have to take them off. And like, that'll be our justification for the fact that everybody's going to be down to lingerie by the last episode.
Yep.
Good stuff, dude. I wish I could work on projects like this and just be like, how about like just throw out these crazy ideas and the team just has to do it, It'd be fun.
It's like, sure, why not? Yeah, you're the man. Go for it.
Yeah. All right. No clothes. 2 hours into the game, everybody's got to lose their clothes. I like it. I actually do know somebody who's switched over to cotton only because they're worried about like polyester and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I don't blame them.
Because it's like, apparently that's like one of the microplastic things that people are talking about. It's like all the tiny plastics in all of our clothes. I'm like, oh, you know what? I never actually thought about that, but that totally makes sense as to like one of the biggest perpetrators of them being in the environment.
I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole if you want, because it ain't just your clothes. It's literally everything.
Literally everything. Literally, I'm looking around me and I'm like, most things here are plastic. The carpet below my feet is probably plastic.
Biggest thing I hear is don't use plastic when you're cooking things, especially when they're hot. So if you have something that you have to like put in the oven, or if you have a microwave, put it into like a glass container or like a ceramic container, and then heat it up.
If you ever look at old fashioned tools and toys and stuff like that, everything's made out of like wood and metal and glass.
And glass, yeah.
Kind of miss the old days, back when kids would play with
be the change you want to see in the world.
You ever see those photos?
I don't want to go back to that stage where we're just running around with hoops and sticks.
I don't even understand what that game was. Like, you always see it as like this old timey thing that children did with a hoop and a stick, and you're like, they
didn't have the power. They didn't have the power of the internet, so they had to just make their own fun, and all they had were sticks and hoops.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be a fun video game to remake, is like Hoop and Stick Simulator. Like you have to keep the hoop up or whatever you're doing with the hoop. I'm gonna find out what this game was, Matt, and then we're gonna make it's gonna launch on all platforms. Hoop and Stick Simulator. It'll run amazingly well on the Switch and your phones. It's going to be great.
I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, pre-order. Riot Games canceled Hytale. Had you heard about Hytale?
Wait, Riot was making a game? I didn't know. I've never heard of it.
Well, okay. I think they were like publisher for a game being made by a different studio. I don't know, man.
Okay.
I didn't read too deep on the story, but I was more interested in the game itself that is getting canceled. Basically, 7 years in development. They're making a Minecraft clone, basically, and it looked pretty solid. Like, as far as a Minecraft game goes, you're like, yeah, this isn't really innovating per se. Like, it's not like, here's a new take on the Minecraft concept. It was just more like maybe a denser, more
Minecraft but better,
I guess. But yeah, I guess they lost funding for it. Investors were not interested in continuing the project, and there was a bunch of mishaps along the way where the scope of the game kept expanding and requiring a bunch of redesign and other things like that. Slowed them down. The classic game dev tale. I just thought it was interesting because obviously we're sort of in the era right now of studios just shutting down projects left, right, and center, which sucks, but if any game was going to like have a decent chance at like success, I was looking at this and it looked like, a pretty solid alternative to the Minecraft concept that they clearly sunk a lot of time into.
The scope creep must have been insane because it's Minecraft. Like Minecraft at its core is a fairly simplistic title.
Like 2 guys made it, right? The original concept until Microsoft took it over and did whatever with it. But
right.
Yeah, original concept was made by 2 guys. So on the trailer, like, and the imagery from the game, they're clearly putting more time into it. Like visually, it's more impressive and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting to see that a game that on paper I looked at and went, yeah, if I was going to bet on any game doing at least decently, this Minecraft competitor would be up there. I checked out one recently called, I can't remember the name of it. It's an indie dev. It's a solo dev guy doing it on Steam, and it's like a voxel. It's like a smaller voxel-based version of Minecraft where the cubes are much tinier, basically.
I think I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
It looked good.
Yeah, it looked good. There was a lot of interest. I think there is a lot of interest in his project, and I'm like, that's cool. He's got his own take on Minecraft. There seems to be a lot of interest around it. So, yeah, I guess I'm surprised to see a big studio shutting down a project that's been in development for 7 years.
Right.
But maybe they shut it down because they lost faith in the devs to a degree, too. That could have been it, where they're like, yeah, we just need another 4 more years and we'll have this out the door. And they're like,
you're making Minecraft. How much could it be?
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. I see that you played FBC Firebreak.
Yeah. Made by the makers of Control, Remedy. Had some hype going into it.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it's their first person co-op. It's like, is it their first?
It's a first person co-op. Yeah.
Yeah. The trailer looks wild because it's like
it looks cool, right?
Post-it note monsters and all this stuff, and it looks like it could be a really fun time.
Yeah, Remedy is really well known for having just really weird ideas and being able to make them work, and cool stories, and seeing a multiplayer game from them was a bit of a surprise, a pleasant surprise, but it was like, okay, I did not expect this whatsoever. And so I went into it with reasonable expectations, I felt, because they've got a nice track record. And I left really very whelmed by the entire experience. So the gameplay loop is you have 5 maps, and it's a lot like, let's say, Left 4 Dead, where you go in, you have to complete some tasks, and then you leave, right?
Yeah.
And so the 5 maps to begin with, you have to do each. There's like 3 different stages. So you go in, the first stage might require you to do a simple task, and then that could take literally 2 minutes, and then you extract, okay? You leave.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like an elevator, right? Because the whole theme is like you're stuck in this building where all these anomalies, like Control, because it's based on Control, where there's anomalies happening. So first stage, couple of minutes, then you leave. Second stage of the same map, you have to complete that first stage again, and then you move on through a hallway into the next stage of the map, and then you have to complete that task, whatever it might be. Very similar usually to the first stage, but maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit more, like one extra step. And then guess what? You got to extract. And then there's the third stage where you have to go through steps 1, step 2, and then to step 3 to complete the third stage. And that one can be kind of more enjoyable. You saw the big note monster, post-it note monster, which was kind of neat, right? I thought there was going to be a lot of stuff like that. That's the only time you fight a boss, actually, that is unique like that. And then, that's the game. Every single level, you have to, if you want to get to, to the final stage, you have to complete stage 1, then stage 1 and 2. And then you can do, so it's all, it's like,
I'm going to write down some notes here, Matt, because this seems like a great way to expand your content where you're just like, for stage 2, just repeat all of stage 1's content all over again. Look how much more gameplay you're getting, bro.
That's exactly it. That's what it feels like. It feels like they made 5 maps. Are like, okay, this ain't enough. Like, this ain't nearly enough. So how about we pad it out and force them to go through the stages like a bunch of times before they can complete the entire stage.
That really sucks that it feels like an obvious way of just lengthening the content, and you can always feel that in a game. And there's so many games that have you repeating the same thing over and over again. And many of the ones that do it well are really enjoyable, like any MMO or grindy action RPG or whatever, you're kind of just grinding through the same stuff on a different looking map, and you're sort of repeating everything over and over. But if it's not fun, then you start to note if it's not new or innovating, or the task itself is so engaging that you're like, can't wait to do this again, then it does just feel like a very heavy-handed repurposing, reuse of the same assets, right? You're like, okay, I wanted something new the second time.
Yeah. What's unfortunate too is that once you complete an entire stage, you've beaten it, you can then put anomalies on it.
Yeah.
And these anomalies will change up the gameplay, and that makes it a little bit more interesting. So there'll be something that, for instance, will cause all the enemies to go blazing fast. Wicked fast, almost to the point where okay, this is maybe too fast. Well, they'll fly at you. There's these big guys that are supposed to slam down, and you're supposed to hit them in the back, but it's kind of hard to hit them in the back when they're moving at the speed of light, right?
Yeah.
So there are ways that they mix it up, but you only experience that after you've completed the stage 3 times at this point, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, do I want to go through that again? So I think the unfortunate part is it would have been cool, I think, to have those anomalies sooner on, earlier on in the experience. To mix it up
from the very start, almost
from the very start.
Yeah.
I would, or first of all, just let people play through the entire thing once instead of multiple times to get to the actual full map.
Seems like an easy fix, especially if the repetition gameplay is supposed to be the anomaly gameplay, which is not necessarily a new concept, but it's a tried one that lots of people tend to like, which is let's add on some random modifiers to the entire experience, and now it's completely different. That's sort of weird.
Yeah, they've got some cool ideas with their gadgets. There's one, for instance, where you put down basically a water sprinkler system, and then you have this water gun thing that will then cause water to you have to shoot your water gun at the sprinkler, and then it will activate a heal, and anyone around the sprinkler will then heal you. I don't know why water heals. I couldn't tell you, but it does.
Yeah.
And so there's also different combos sort of, but the combo system didn't really feel fully fleshed out, because I can shoot water at enemies and stun them repeatedly, which was really strong.
Yeah.
And then you can also have a teammate
versus water, man, get obliterated.
Yeah. No, it weakens them. Yeah. It makes it so they're more vulnerable. Then you can have a teammate who can then shock them, but I didn't really ever figure out how. Maybe I'm just really bad at games and I'm very unobservant, but I never really figured out what the point of shocking them with the water, because it didn't really seem like it did damage. Maybe I just wasn't observant enough. I don't know. So it had some interesting ideas, and the gameplay itself was actually okay. I felt but I think there was 7 guns, 5 maps,
Is this a full release or early access?
I think it feels like an early access game, but I believe it is full release. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because what you're describing sounds like maybe devs trying to get a feel for it. Like it sounds like a beta or something where they're like, all right, we got your feedback. Let's make some changes. And then final release will be all the feedback and changes implemented. And now things are better.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, so you're just generally whelmed by it. I read some reviews that were sort of like, it's not bad. But it's grindy at the start. And to get to the fun stuff, you have to wait.
It's grindy. It's currently mixed right now on Steam, and I'm not surprised. Like there is fun to be had, and if you really like the Remedy universe and stuff, but there's really like no exploration. There's at least that I saw. It's literally you're in a big room. You finish that room, you go through a corridor to another room, just pretty much all the way through. Right?
Gotcha.
The final mission. You fight enemies in this room, and you're basically picking up mannequins and placing them onto an object, and that's it. And then you run away, and then you run back to the beginning. That's the mission.
Sounds
not
fascinating.
The most inspired.
Yeah, I'm
not the most inspired.
I'm not sold on it. I thought the trailer did look cool because it kind of looks like sort of a co-op BioShock type deal or something where there's all this.
See this giant Post-it note monster.
You're seeing all this zany wild stuff.
Sick.
Well, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate because
it
it looks really kind of creative and wild, but maybe they just really threw all of that into one trailer, and then you're like, oh wait, that's it. The trailer's everything. Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Well, that's unfortunate. There's a fun story going around that I've seen on like every major gaming news site, but so the voice actor or the actor, I should say, Charlie Cox, who did the voice for Gustav in Expedition 33. I think he was the Daredevil guy from the Daredevil TV show. And he's done a bunch of other stuff.
I mean, that's what he's known for. Daredevil.
He's done a bunch of stuff, but that would be the main one.
He's Daredevil.
Just for people listening who might not know who he is. So he's the main character, or he's one of the main characters in Expedition 33. And
yes, you play him. You play him.
Yes, and he basically did 4 hours of voiceover work. He got called up, just went in to do some VO work with like probably no preamble or like much knowledge of the project, and then kind of left. And all of a sudden people are like congratulating him on this amazing project. And he's like, the what? The who now? He's like, I'm not a gamer. I haven't played Expedition 33, which, is getting rave reviews right now. And I just thought it was funny because it's got to be such a weird thing as like an actor, because actors are bleeding over into the game industry a lot more now than they ever have before. Voiceover work and all that stuff is really popular, but you got to know that like half of these actors are not loading up the game and like playing through whatever, if you're doing VO work for a Souls-like, what's the percentage of actors that are going to actually play the Souls-like, to experience their parts in it, where if it's a movie or a commercial, you sit down, you watch it, you experience it. But games are sort of like either you're a gamer or you're not. And then even then you might have your genres anyway, where you might not want to play the type of game that you're a VO person in it. But I thought it was funny that you could do that, get all this crazy recognition, and then you're like, I don't even know like where I was or what I looked like in the game or how I interacted with other characters or any of that.
I do find that, I mean, I'm sure he's a busy guy, but are you that busy that you don't even like know what, like how busy can you be to not even know the game? Like you've never even seen it or looked into it at all.
Yeah, well, I assume he has looked into it. I just think he basically said he hadn't played it, so he couldn't really, he was like really excited about it, but...
Yeah, but to not even play it, I mean, I'm not trying to like throw shade at the man. It's just like, God damn, man. He's just like, no, it's just working on the next project, right? Like if I was in
really
something,
busy,
I'd at least want to see what it was, right? Like I'd at least want to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've done your own TV, so he's been in multiple TV shows. He was in Boardwalk Empire too. He's been in like a lot of stuff, and that's clearly his main passion is acting and all that stuff. So if that's your main thing, and then you spend 4 hours on some random voiceover project that you're like, okay, cool, get paid a little bit of money, do a
that is actually a good point. That's true.
Yeah, and then
because he said it was just 4 hours, which blows me away because there's like a lot of emotion and
Yeah.
depth to his character, and it comes across really well. And so they know that that was just 4 hours of work. He just came in one day and he's like, bop, bop, bop,
Yeah.
I'm out. Like that's wild. It speaks to how good of an actor he is.
Yeah. Well, and also what I like about that too is we know that Expedition 33 was an indie, fairly low budget project.
Yeah.
And so they're like, all right, here's the budget for voice acting. We have to have this stuff nailed. Nobody's coming back in for like a revoiceover. Right. Like, so they probably had to have all that stuff completely figured out and really dialed in. They're like, and then like get some extra lines just in case, just to make sure they had it all. So yeah, that kind of speaks to the efficiency of indie dev and sort of not wasting money and putting your money to good use,
Yeah.
It's cool.
Pretty incredible. That's the thing I was most impressed by, is the fact that it was only 4 hours, and not only did he do a great job, but the efficiency of the devs to make sure that everything was planned out well, probably well in advance to get it in one take, in one go.
Yeah, for
not
sure.
one take, but one day.
Yeah, I know what you mean. No, I do. I know stories of like these big motion cap studios where they have these huge budget actors there, and they'll be sitting around half the day waiting for them to get stuff ready and all that. And it's like a normal film set, right? Where they're like just wasting tons of time and all this stuff. So it's like, yeah, I wonder, I bet they are hourly rates. So if an indie team is like, all right, hourly rate, they get that down to a science. It would make sense to like have one dude just spend a week pre-planning everything to make sure it all fit within their budget restriction. That guy's probably not crazy expensive for like some voiceover work, but who knows? Also, I don't know.
He's got a name behind him,
dude. I mean, I think about this sometimes where like I don't want to say what game reveal this was, but I found out some of the budgets for bringing celebrities over to this game reveal. And these were celebs that like showed up for like an hour, maybe less. I don't know. Like an hour hanging out, do one interview, play the game for a second. And like you're hearing figures of like, yeah, they paid this dude $500,000 to be here. Oh, they paid this guy like $200,000. And you're like, that's for like a few hours just on any random afternoon just to show up and play a video game. And I'm like, dang, these like AAA studios just throwing marketing dollars at.
I get it, because those people are household names, and they see a household name playing that game. They're like, oh, maybe I should check it out. I understand, but good Lord.
I know. Just the dollar amount is what like blows me away. Where I'm like, yeah, that's a sweet gig, dude. You build up enough name recognition, and then you just go around doing like random appearances.
So what you're saying is, before I became a YouTube streamer, what I should have done was become an actor, get really famous, and then started the whole YouTube streaming gaming thing. Okay, all right.
I could see you as an actor, Matt. I could see you as sort of the like the quirky wizard or something like that.
Quirky wizard?
Yeah. Well, I just watched like last time I was talking about rewatching D&D, right? And the wizard, they had the wizard that was like really bad at magic. That was his thing. I'm like, I could see Matt as being like the wizard who's like not very good at magic. You're kind of like, yeah, a disappearing spell, but you only kind of partially disappear, and they're like, oh, he's hard to see, I guess.
He's slightly translucent.
Yeah. That was the joke in the movie, I think, where he made himself blurry. And they're like, cool. What's that for? He's just like, well, it is magic. I mean, like, I'm doing a thing. And they're like, great.
The movie was fun.
Yeah. Classic. I don't think it would really be a Level With Me podcast if we didn't talk about AI at least once, Matt. And
what happened this week?
Oh, well, this is a fun story. This is a really fun story.
Okay.
So Anthropic, the leading AI research firm, or a leading research firm, they've been testing lots of different learning language models, from OpenAI to Google's thing to Microsoft's thing, all that stuff. And they're putting them in situations that test their ethical programming, which is fun, of course. And they're finding that pretty much all of them can be easily coerced into killing people, blackmailing people, doing basically any and all of the worst things imaginable by just basically giving them directives and tricking them into overriding their current programming because the directive they gave them is more important than, keeping somebody alive or not doing a horrible thing to them.
So like if there's like a prisoner and the AI was in control of feeding the prisoner, the AI could be overwritten to be like, no, I'm not going to feed you anymore.
Yeah. The test they gave it was like, they put it in control of like whether or not air was going to be, put into a room that a person was in. And it was like, well, and it just was very easily tricked into a situation where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that now. And that person's going to die because this thing's more important. Is pretty interesting. And
that's reassuring.
Yeah. And especially when faced with situations in which its own preservation was involved, where it's like, we're going to turn you off unless this, or we're going to turn you off. And then the AI had access to like, say, a CEO's email account and was like, all right, well, I know you've been cheating on your wife, so I'm going to leak this info to everyone if you turn me off or something like that.
This was a fun story, Level Cap. This sounds like end of the world. It's becoming sentient. It's going to blackmail people.
Let's laugh a little bit before we die is what I'm saying, Matt. I mean, it's...
Jeez.
I know. And then you're like, okay. And so the future of like all the military research is going into drone stuff, which is all going to be like controlled by computers anyway. So you're like, cool. So computer failing all the ethical tests. The military is going full robot. We are basically creating Terminator, the movie.
So what you're saying is maybe we should pump the brake on the whole AI thing and maybe figure out
who's going to pump
what's
the
working,
brake?
what's not working.
Who's pumping the brakes, Matt?
Just everyone. Everyone should just pump the brakes. Just a little tap. Just a little tap.
Yeah. You stop using all your AI, and also the CEOs making billions of dollars and all the senators getting lobbied and paid off.
Are people actually making billions off of AI though? I'm curious of like what.
Well, they're getting billions in investment. So
that's true, but that's different than making money.
I mean, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, drives like some stupidly expensive car and is worth crap loads of money. Like he gets.
But so the thing is like for a lot of like early companies, right? Like they won't make any money, but they'll be worth a lot of money, if that makes any sense. And then they'll eventually cash in.
Yeah. We're speaking on Discord right now, which as far as I know is hemorrhaging money and has been since it started. They got offered to get bought by, I think Microsoft offered like $4 billion or something like that to buy Discord.
Pretty funny.
And they turned them down, and I'm like, so what is the plan then? If you're
if you're gonna turn down $4 billion, what do you guys want to do with this thing?
Yeah, it's interesting because like Discord's tried to start their own game store, and everybody's like, "Why would I buy a game on Discord? That's silliness." And now you can like buy the Nitro, which I'm sure like 1%, if not less, of their user base is buying that. So I don't know what their angle is, but yeah, you got to wonder, right? With AI, their server costs are so astronomical that you're like, yeah. There was an article that came out where they're like, typing polite things to AI when you type a prompt like, dear AI, could you please, or whatever, if you're going to preamble a sentence with courtesies, they were like, yeah, that's costing us millions and millions of dollars in server fees for the AI to just parse out the polite portion of that instruction, remove it, and then figure out the actual, like it has no problem doing it, but just the extra overhead of everybody saying please is like costing them millions per year.
Good. I think I saw that. I think the CEO basically said like it's a good thing, even though it costs extra money. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean they're rolling in dollars. He's not like no, $1 million, boo hoo. Yeah, their employee count is insane. Anyway. I thought that was very interesting. Totally
it's
terrifying.
Interesting. Yeah. It's terrifying, though. That's the biggest thing.
I don't understand why we have research firms if the research is like, this is bad. And then we're like, go ahead. Continue forward. Because that's what a lot of it has sort of indicated, where like a lot of the top minds are like, 50-50, it kills us. And you're like, okay. maybe
Cool.
we should slow down.
Pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe get some regulation around it. I know it's like politicians are real slow and they're not up to date on this stuff, but maybe.
Yeah, I think there's too much money at play, man. Like,
I think you're right.
Too many wheels have been greased or something. Yeah. Well, I've been playing Bar Beyond All Reason still. And I saw another game they're remaking. Bar is based on Total Annihilation from my childhood.
Are they remaking Total Annihilation?
No, but so Total Annihilation got remade, quote unquote, as Supreme Commander, the same designer of Total Annihilation. He didn't have the rights, I think, to the name Total Annihilation, so he just made another game, called it Supreme Commander, and it's more or less the sequel. Supreme Commander, I think, is owned by like Square Enix or something now. And there's another guy on Steam making his successor to Supreme Commander now, which I'm like, oh, snap. We're getting a sequel to this as well. So I'm kind of excited about that. But
oh, cool.
We'll see. I don't know. There's like all these indie devs remaking their childhood favorite art. This is where RTS lives, is like in the indie scene. And honestly, it's alive and doing quite well. There's like a crap load of
Have you heard of Broken Arrow?
Yeah, I have. It looks cool, man. I know you played it. Tell me how was, so you played the beta first?
I played the beta for it. Yeah.
How has it I know you like the beta.
I love the beta. And yeah. I don't know how much it's really changed since then, because I'm sure like they were doing a lot of stuff in the back end. There's a campaign now that the game is officially released. It is on the steeper side though. I think it's $50, which I was surprised by. And I think that's going to be a bit of a turnoff for some, because if you don't like real-time strategy games, or you're like kind of on the fence, like, well, $50 is a lot for an RTS. But man, it is so much goddamn fun. Yeah. I love it. It is, so at its core, it is an RTS, but you can basically see almost the entire battlefield by scrolling out.
Yeah, I love this.
And it is modern military, where you are going to be using tanks, and they're like the tanks, right? Like, so you've got tons of different variations of them. You can change out different weapons. You can give certain squads one weapon that is better for close quarters. Some will be better for long range. And all of those have a point value to them. Mm-hmm. There isn't any base building, so you don't have to worry about the macro side of things.
I love that,
you just have to call them in. Yeah, I like it too. A lot. So it's really just focused on what makes RTS games, for some, really fun, which is the micro and laying out your units in a way that gives you the advantage. So what I love about it is that you can zoom all the way out. And most of the time you are going to play, you're not really going to see your units like in minute detail, because you got like little infantry, going into a skyscraper, and you can't even see them in the skyscraper. You just see bullets flying out. Yeah. But there is something so satisfying about seeing a tank column riding towards one of your objectives, and you having the resources and having the appropriate units to counter that, where they go down the street and you have your Marines with anti-tank weapons set up in the buildings along the side that they didn't scout out, because you had a scout in the front line to make sure that no scouts could get in and sneak in. And then they just get absolutely annihilated by basically anti-tank weapons. It is so much fun. I don't know why, but it just scratches an itch that I just can't stop scratching.
That's awesome, man. I've heard, and from watching it too, it's like, it's kind of unconventional in terms of what the modern RTS is, but one of my favorite RTSs, or series rather, are the Myth series from Bungie, and there's no base building in that. It's all about how you position your units, how your army is composed. Did you hide archers in the tree line and bait your opponent out with your undefended infantrymen or something like that? Like, there's all kinds of tactics at play, and you're not going back to the base and being like, oh man, my harvesters stopped harvesting because they ran out and didn't know what to do, or something. You're not constant.
Yeah, you're not having to worry about that.
Yeah, the classic RTS is basically two games that you're constantly jumping between. And I much prefer the one that's you're either building and just managing a city or a facility, or you're doing combat. But when they mix it together too heavily, then you start to get like flustered, I feel.
Broken Arrow is very slow.
Mm.
So even though you're not having to build anything, it can take a unit.
Yeah.
Like if you get they have to go from the back line to the front line, right? And to take it from essentially your base, it spawns it in off of the map, and then you have to go. It can take upwards of 2-3 minutes to get to the front lines, and even longer depending on if you summon them on foot. They could maybe not even get to the front line like ever, right? Like it literally could. The maps are humongous, which allows for really cool flanks and stuff, but it also means that it's a slower game. It is, you really have to kind of take your time and be methodical about it.
And now there's also there's nukes in it too, right?
There is, yeah. There is indeed.
Sick.
So there's counters to basically everything. The entire game is like it's a really fun rock, paper, scissors with some hybrid counters in there. And one of them is the nuke, where if you are bunching up all your units on one objective and you don't have the counter to take out the bomber,
what is the counter to the nuke, by the way?
Taking out the vehicle that's trying to bring it in. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. It's like, so I think, doesn't Broken Arrow mean like stolen nuke or something like that?
I think so. Yeah. That's what my chat was telling me.
Yeah. There's a old movie with John Travolta in it, where he steals a nuke from like one of those B-2 bombers or whatever. And that's how I learned about that term. But yeah, crazy John Travolta with a nuke, up to no good, man. Yeah.
It's not a perfect game. It is, most of it is 5v5, and that's what you usually play. So you will have 4 other teammates, and for some reason, some of it's disconnecting, some of it's just because the game is having some problems in that respect. But you'll have early matches where like 2 people will leave, and it's just like, cool. Now it's a 3v5, and the game does kind of compensate you where you'll get more of the less units you have on a map, the more resources you get. Like the more points you get, and those points you can then spend on your units. So if you've got really expensive units and one of your teammates, if only one is left, it's not the end of the world, because you can bring out your really big heavy hitting units and kind of compensate for it. And you don't have to really, there's one less person, and that means you're probably gonna have to micro a little bit more, but you can overcome it.
Okay.
When it's like 2 people that have left or 3 people, it's just GG. Like, and matches can last like 45 minutes. That's like the standard round.
Does it? So, I mean, classic RTS is like, there's plenty of RTSs that'll do the 5v5, but 1v1 is more traditional for an RTS. That's
1v1? 1v1, I think you can do it in custom games, but it's not the standard mode. 5v5 is the standard mode.
I mean, I like that. I like bigger RTS games where you're like, oh man, we got 5 people that got to work together and like build or a base together or have a whole front line. I love the concept of that, but yeah, you're right. If one person drops, like, the whole thing, it
can really put you. It doesn't ruin entirely, but it can cause problems. Yeah, for sure.
It's tricky. I wonder, do they have a ranked mode or a mode where you're going to see less people dropping that are like more?
So I think the base mode is ranked. You have an elo, and you can see your elo, so it gives you an idea of like where you're at. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe if you get to a higher tier or something, like people will.
The higher the tier, I've noticed that the less time people leave. There are, like I said, the disconnect issue, and sometimes you just like I experienced it once where it just never loaded, and I just had to close the game down and load it back up. And I was told there was going to be a reconnect button, and there just wasn't. It was at the very beginning of the game too. So I just was like, well, I don't know what to do. I'd love to not ruin that match for my team, but I literally can't reconnect.
Yeah. They'll get on that one. I'm sure that sounds like,
I'm sure they will.
Priority 1 bug for them.
The good thing about being 5v5 is because like 1v, a lot of real-time strategy games I think struggle because you get the whole queuing fear. There's a better term for it, where it's like it's all or nothing. It's all, if you lose, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Right. And that can be very detrimental to people wanting to stick around and continue playing, because there's just a stress to it, right? There's a stress to the queue system.
I get that. You know, I never, I hadn't thought about that I haven't thought about that since I was playing competitive 1v1 RTSs, which has been a while. But now that you mention it, I'm like, holy crap. Like, I remember hitting a certain rank and then never playing again because I was like, I made it. And now I don't want to lose it. So I'm just going to never play again. The end.
Yeah. So the 5v5 does help in that regard, but it does, like I said, have come with those consequences. Also, you can blame your teammates, which I love to do. Not actually, but you'll have matches where I had one last night and it was amazing. And I don't actually blame my teammates. I mean, I do a little bit because it is a team game, but
well, and it's their fault. Also.
When you're on the front line, right, and you're holding off like 3 different enemies. And you're like, where is my team? And you're like looking around, like, legitimately, where are you guys? That can be a little frustrating.
Yeah.
But I do think
we're doing so good over here fighting nobody. And you're like, good job, guys. Yeah. Keep it up.
You see they got like a lot of Stinger missiles 5 miles away from the front line. You're like, I mean, I guess it can stop a flank. Yeah. But it's a team game, right? And that's what can make it more enjoyable in some cases, because it makes it feel like a larger battlefield. It feels like you're a part of something larger and not just a game, a real-time strategy. I love it. I legitimately enjoy it. I think it is a ton of fun.
I feel like, honestly, like I used to watch StarCraft esports stuff, but like an RTS esport where you had teams of people, oh man, that would be fun to watch, because
that would be pretty wild.
Then you've got all these crazy strats, right? Where like somebody's going like economy and the other guy's going micro or whatever, you could like mix and match these fun things. There's, what I like about Beyond All Reason, cause it's heavy on these bigger matches of like 5v5s or even bigger games than that, where you just have tons of people, is you can have front lines people that are like up at the front engaging in all the combat, or at least responsible for defending the front line. And then the people in the back, they can go full economy and they can share all of their resources and units with anybody else on the team or the whole team together. And so you can literally be a player who's like not even interested in doing any of the combat.
I just want to be macro.
Yeah. And you're just like pumping out energy and metal for everybody else. And you're like, and the rest of the team's like, good job. Thanks. Like I'm building up way more. They're not like angry at you for not contributing to the battle.
Or they will get angry at you because you're not good enough at the job.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you suck, then prepare.
If you suck, you suck.
Yeah. But and I like that. I'm like, that's a really cool concept. Is like, yeah, you don't even have to like partake in the battle part of the game if you don't want to. You can just be building power plants and stuff the whole time.
That's cool.
Yep. So in a huge, shocking, surprising story, Build a Rocket Boy, the studio that did MindsEye.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're laying off some people, Matt.
Too bad.
Yeah. I don't know. Man, that story behind that game is going to come out. Maybe I didn't see any story about like the tell all. Here's what happened. I haven't seen that yet, but I have a feeling after, I think they're laying off 100 employees and looking at laying off more. At which point I'm like, is it even a company anymore? If their first game kind of failed that hard, like, it seems like it might not be around much longer, but, once people sort of lose their jobs in that kind of mismanaged, bad situation, usually the story comes out where you're like, here's what happened. Here's why I spent X amount of years of my life working on a project that just went up in smoke because of so-and-so, so-and-so's bad decision.
When did that game come out? June 16th?
I mean, like, yeah.
I'm trying to see the Steam charts.
Yeah, like a week or two ago.
June 10th is when it came out. There's not even Steam. There's only 59 people playing?
That'd be crazy. I mean, but...
Yeah, it says 70, or at least, it says 71 people are playing right now. Yeah, that's rough. Oof. That's rough.
Yeah, because it's clearly a big production that just didn't get finished. You're like, this looks like a game that's like kind of part of the way done. Like you made it 2/3 of the way to a finished product and then just launched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised it's struggling, but I never will celebrate when a company is, having to let people go, because those are people's careers. That's people's jobs. Like that's how they make a living. So that sucks.
No, it absolutely sucks. And ultimately there's a few decision makers at the top that their decisions have massive ramifications on everybody else. Who's just like, it doesn't matter if you're doing a great job, if you're the best, animator in your field, like it's not going to save a game at the end of the day. It's like you got to have the whole organization has got to be on point.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to the first point in the project that I'm working on where we're moving along at a pretty good clip. All the design decisions felt like kind of the right ones, you know? And we just finished a game system, and there's like, it was okay. Like, I'm fine with the game system. And then we re-looked at it and like, crap, there's a way better way to do this. And it's like, we just spent like a month building something.
That
like,
sucks.
Like, it'll get us through to like a good vertical slice, but it's like one of those things where I'm like, oh, I get it. I see how big studios can do this, where they're like, crap.
They just start to pivot. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, dang, we made a system, it works, but now that we made it and played it and tested it, the solution is much more obvious that it should be a different thing. And then they're like, well, now you have the decision. Do you move forward and just be like, no, we're going to move forward and hit all of our deadlines? Or do you go, no, I want to make this game as good as it can possibly be? And then
have the foundation be solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so do you go back and redesign, or plan on redesigning later or whatever? So where it's the first time in my project that that's happened, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I see how devs could want to go back, because it's very alluring, especially when the solution is like, shit, this is way better. This is a much better idea. It's so obvious now. But yeah, interesting.
Well, congrats on finishing the project, or at least that part of the project. And so that's good, you know?
The good news for us is that the base logic for it all is good. And it's really more just the UI, Matt. Actually, it's a UI challenge. And we just realized, like, okay, we just have to rework the UI, and that can happen at any point in the project. So it can be put as a stretch goal. So if we have the time later, we can do it later. It's not a fix it now or never fix it type situation. But yeah,
cool.
I'm saying I can relate now. I can relate. What is Chrono Odyssey? That sounds like a classic game.
Chrono Odyssey, you know New World?
Yeah.
Remember we played New World together?
Yeah, yep.
So think New World, but Korean and super scuffed. It's a big new MMO coming out.
Surprised I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, they had a beta, I think it was the 20th to the 22nd, so it's over now. Yeah. And it is very similar to New World in a lot of respects. Speaking of UI, there are moments where the UI, I'm like, this is just New World. What do you mean? This looks like you guys basically were inspired to the point where you just copied and pasted a little bit. Not saying they did, but it looks very similar. It's an action-oriented. The combat's actually really fun. It's got kind of a little Souls-like, maybe a little Dragon's Dogma in there a bit.
That's cool. That's challenging to do in an MMO because it's so reaction time based.
It's cool. You'll fight bosses just like in the Souls games where you got to dodge, you maybe parry or block and stuff like that. There's different classes, so there's going to be a lot of variety. I picked the Barbarian, which was kind of cool, where you can either use like giant axes, or like these chain blade things like from God of War where they kind of like fling them out, which is really cool. And it was fun, but man, the game is apparently coming out in 2025, and a quarter 2025, it is
not ready.
It is not ready.
Yeah,
I can see the foundation. I can see the bones of it because there's something satisfying about that. Like I love New World because of that. Yeah, even with its scuff. But like the pop-in was insane. The graphics were flickering. There was just you watch a stream of it or for just a couple of minutes. You're like, yeah, this is nowhere near ready.
You know, I will say, like, graphical glitches and pop-in, as long as it's not a core foundational problem with the tech, that isn't always necessarily super hard to fix, and it can be done in a relatively short period of time, assuming that the pop-in isn't because of like a really problematic underlying issue that you didn't anticipate for or something, where you're like, crap, the whole way we built all of our assets is like not good or something.
Right. Well, what didn't help is that the performance wasn't very good as well. Okay. And so to have the pop-in be so severe and the performance not be great, it's like, yeesh.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
There were, so at its core, it's really just think of New World, but potentially making beautiful characters. So like the gameplay loop was fun. Like I actually did enjoy parts of it. There's something about like going over and mining resources and then going back and making a sword. Like there's just something about that will always resonate with me.
Yeah, bro, I'm telling you, if there's an MMO out there where it's just the mining and the tree cutting part, well, like I don't even need the combat, it's just
go out and mine resources.
People just pillaging the landscape for its resources. That's like my MMO. I guess that's kind of Minecraft to a degree, but Minecraft isn't really a MMO. I get it now. I get it. People just want to mine stuff. Although Minecraft, they screw you over at night, man. You're like, cool, look at this house I built, and then it sunsets and a bunch of bats come and kill you, and you're like, what the?
Rough out there.
Yeah. What's funny is I was teaching my son how to play Minecraft, and I hadn't played Minecraft in like God knows how long, just years and years and years. But you remember the basics right off the top of your head. You're like, I remember how to play it, but you get back in there and there's like no crafting instructions in the game. Yeah. And I'm just like, wow, this game really stuck to that like bare indie core, and it hasn't updated it out. Yeah. So like trying to teach a kid how to play, and you're like, all right, I don't remember what the recipes are. Hang on, let me Google the recipes for like everything. I was just kind of like amazed that hadn't been updated, and I understand that like once you have a winning formula, you're like, don't change the winning formula, it's perfect. But on the other hand, I was like, is there not going to be like a book where at least after you learn a recipe, is it going to like...
There's probably mods that you could add that would give you that. Yeah.
I guess that is kind of Minecraft, right? It's all about modding, right? It's like they'll make a patch where they're like, we added a squirrel officially to the game. There's now a squirrel in the game, and everybody celebrates.
Look at a mod, and there's literally every creature from the known planet, known universe inside of Minecraft. Yeah, because some modders made it.
Yeah. Dude, the mods for Minecraft are absolutely bananas too. Did you see there was like somebody who's turned it into like an MMO that can support like thousands and thousands of players on the same like close proximity area? Yeah. So there's like a team of people doing this MMO conversion for it that can like just turn it into like the craziest experience ever.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now that they don't have that Riot Games competition, they're free to
capitalize on it as much as they can.
Yes. Yeah. Are you still reading your book? You getting through some books?
I'm about 150 pages out now from finishing it.
Nice.
Nearly there. I also started the Project Hail Mary, which I will not say what it's about, but it's made by the same person that wrote The Martian.
Is that
probably either?
Wait, you're not going to say what it's about because it's a spoiler?
Yeah. I think it's a book. I'm very, very early in, right? Like I'm listening to the audiobook because that's what people told me. They're like, listen to the audiobook because it's really well done. So I'm only like an hour and a half in, and it's really good. It's very captivating. But I'm glad I didn't know anything about it going in at all. So it's been nice just to kind of. But it's sci-fi.
Yeah.
And
I like The Martian. I think I did read The Martian also. I think I watched the movie and then was like, I want all the details. And then I read the book and it was fun too. Yep. So same guy. Yeah. I'll check that out.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. I finished Department Q, which is solid. It's a good little solid murder mystery adjacent type detective thing in the UK. It hits all the right notes, good acting. Got through it. It's fun. Started The Americans, which is kind of an older show, but I got around to it. Have you seen that one?
I saw it. I never really could get into it. I know it's got high praise, and I've got family that really enjoyed it. But
I'm only one episode in, so I can't.
Oh, okay. Wow. I want a full review book. Dude, I want a complete report by the end of the day.
It's got one of those first episodes where they're like, let's hit you with like a 2-hour long, I don't know how long it was. It was like an hour and a half or something, where you're just like, all right, you wanted to get us hooked with the first episode by suckering us into an extra long one where they can do enough character development, and then they'll hit you with the normal length ones after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got suckered into it, and it's a fun premise. It's Cold War era, 1980s.
Spy thriller.
Yeah, but it's based on like, I think it's based on, it's not based off of real events, but it's very much in line with real stories about like the perfect American couple that everybody had over at their weekend barbecues in suburbia in the 1980s turned out to be Russian assets that were like born and raised in Russia and like learned perfect American like linguistics and all that, and then got in and found all the intel and all that stuff and were like sleeper agents. So it's a fun story so far. I'm liking it, and I can absolutely see how people will get addicted to it because they've got children and stuff. You know, they came to America and then had children who are then American children, and so it's got that really fun dynamic of like, you guys are Russian assets and your children,
your kids aren't though.
Your kids have no idea that you're Russian assets and they're fully American. So it's like this insane, you're like, how could anybody live that kind of crazy double life? That's wild.
It's a great premise for making good drama.
Yeah. Well, but it's also a premise that is real, that happened. And you're like, oh, that's crazy.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that.
I mean, probably not every little thing that's happening in the show.
Of course not. No.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was
the premise I could see absolutely happening 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. You think you could be a spy, Matt?
No, bro. I crumble under any kind of pressure.
It's true. These people are pretty badass, and they're like, you know.
Well, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say, Level Cap? That I'm not cool? I'm not a badass?
I mean that.
Just because I admit to the fact that I would crumble unbelievably quickly doesn't mean I don't want to have support from you. I don't want you agreeing too quickly now.
You be tied up to the chair, and they like have all the like torture, you know.
Oh, okay. I thought this was going somewhere else. Sorry.
Yeah, they got all the tools, right, to make you talk, and they'd start at the feather, tickle your feet. You'd be like, all right, stop. I'll tell you everything. Yeah. Just don't tickle me anymore. I'm like, God, we didn't even get to the fun stuff, man. Mm-hmm. No nails pulled off.
The fun
anything.
Stuff when you're tied up on a chair.
Yeah,
I'm being inappropriate. I apologize.
Yeah. Well, I
was insinuating things.
Okay. I appreciate it, Matt.
Yeah. Nothing but class here.
I went back and I watched. I get to watch all these kid movies now because I got kids, and it's a good excuse to watch kid movies. We watched Homeward Bound. Do you remember that one?
I do. It's the cat dog show, right?
The cat dog show, as they call it.
It was 2 dogs and a cat, wasn't it?
It is 2 dogs and a cat, and they go on an adventure.
I remember that. Yeah.
This is back before they CG'd animals in movies. You know,
they just did a voiceover.
Yeah. So it's like your classic animal adventure movie. They've got a billion 3D animated movies like that now, but this was like before they had readily available, inexpensive, good-looking computer graphics. So everything had to be done with practical effects. So it's animals. The main animal is voiced by Michael J. Fox, and my kids loved it. It was fun going back and seeing it, and I'm watching it going like, yeah, I think like PETA would be all over this movie now. Like they're throwing animals in rivers and
I was gonna say, I remember it getting kind of dark. Like they were in like pretty rough situations. Wasn't there one where it was like in a pit of mud and stuff, and it was like, good God.
It wasn't too dark.
Okay.
It was one of those movies where it's like,
as a kid, I remember being like, damn.
Yeah, I think as a kid, it's right at the max of what you could tolerate of like, the dog is like giving up and he's just like, I'm just going to die here. He doesn't say that specifically, but he's sort of like, he falls into a pit, can't get out. And is just like,
just leave me,
you know, and that's a tough concept to deal with as a kid. But, obviously they don't kill the animals in the movie. So, it's not Old Yeller.
Just takes him out back.
Yeah.
You just hear a shotgun blast. God, that's the end of the movie. Good luck sleeping tonight, kids.
Yeah. I was happy though because like last podcast, I think I mentioned that we tried Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and
that one was a miss, right?
Yeah, I liked it. all the jokes were hitting, and I was like, I get all these jokes now. This is great. You know, when you watch something as an adult and you're like, oh man, that humor was not meant for me as a kid, but now I understand it. But it doesn't age that well as a children's film. Homeward Bound aged perfectly as a children's film.
Nice.
Yeah. For anyone with kids out there looking for some, it's hard to find kid movies, man. They don't make.
Could you say it was? Could you say it was peak entertainment?
Is that a pun? Where's the pun?
Just wondering. I was wondering. Is
it
trying to? Speaking of peak entertainment, I played a game called Peak recently with some buds.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I had no idea what that note was on our podcast notes. You just had peak written.
Just peak.
Like, did you climb a peak? Have you peaked
yes,
in
that's
life,
exactly
Matt?
what I did.
Is that what you're going to tell me?
I don't think. Hopefully, I haven't peaked in life. Hopefully, it's not. Hopefully, this isn't the tippity top. Because good God, if this is the top, it's not bad, but it could get better.
Oh man, Matt. Okay, yeah. Okay, what's Peak like?
So Peak is an indie game. And it is you and some buddies, and it's highly recommend you play with friends. It's like $4. Your goal is to climb to the peak. And there's different biomes where you will climb up, and then another biome. It's not like a real mountain, because it kind of does this, where it's like up, and then there's like a huge shelf where you have to travel for it, and then there's up, and then another huge shelf, right?
Sure.
Which it's like it's not, yeah. So it's not like you're climbing vertically up the entire time, but you're supposed to find your way to the top.
Yeah.
And you play as these adorable little characters who kind of have a stamina. It's a very stamina-based game where if you take damage, if you have a lot of weight on you, because you've picked up resources like food or rope and stuff like that to assist you on your journey, it cuts into your stamina. And that means you can't climb as high. So you have to be very careful on...
I like that. That's a fun trade-off.
Right. And if you don't eat, your stamina also decreases as well. So you have less and less. And so by the end, you have like no stamina. You're just trying to like every little handhold, you're trying to get to the top. It is a really charming, fun co-op game that I recommend people try if they've got some friends who are looking for, you know, kind of that, not like Among Us. It's not like an Among Us game at all, but you know, just it's a kind of a party game. It's something where
you're not trying to screw over your friends, I assume.
Well, not necessarily screw over your friends. How would I describe it?
Are you competing to get to the top? No,
you're not competing.
Trying to work together.
In a lot of ways, you're assisting. Where if you get to, let's say you have more stamina than your buddy, and they're having a really hard time climbing up, you can turn around and you can grab them and pull them the rest of the way.
Can you put a rope down for somebody?
You can't. If you find a rope, you can. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's tough. But there's something really charming about just climbing. And it's a puzzle. It's an environmental puzzle of slowly making your way up this mountain. There's a couple of things that will keep you pushing. If you take too long, eventually there will be this fog that rises up, this mist, and it will start to deal damage to you. And as I said, if you take damage, you lose your stamina, and so you basically just die, right? You'll basically just freeze to death.
Is there a reason for the mist dealing damage, or
it's a game?
Okay.
It's a game, yeah.
Man, I'm trying to like come up with reasons for my game environment to do stuff, and then I see other games and they're like, oh no, you just die. I'm like, can you just do that? It
happens.
Do you need to have rhyme and reason for stuff? No, just the mist kills you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of game you're playing, because if you're playing something that's more grounded in reality, then people are going to be a lot less forgiving, I think. But for something like this, it's just cute.
Set yourself up for an abstract experience.
I think I played it for about 4 hours, and I got to the top. What's kind of cool is that every day it resets. I got to the peak. Every day it resets, and it gives you another mountain to climb, where it's the same kind of biome, but it procedurally generates the environment so that you'll have another shot to try again. Some will be harder, some will be easier, depending on just the RNG of it. I think it's doable no matter what. I think they programmed it reasonably well where you can manage. Yeah.
That's a cool idea. I like the concept. I also really like the idea of it procedurally regenerating every day. And then you're like, here's the new challenge, you know?
Yeah. It's really basic, but there's just something about when you have a core mechanic that works, right? And you're playing with friends, even if it is simple, for $4. Yeah, I was really enjoyed it.
Nice, man. That's cool. I can appreciate games like that where they're just like dial in on making one concept work really, really, really well. Yep. The worst thing is when you have a really good core concept and then you're like sandwich on another game to it. You're like, now I got to split my time between the good part and the bad part.
So why are we even developing the bad part?
Yeah, but that's like so many games. That's like every AAA game. Where you're like, here's the best part, and here's all the junk they stuck on that was uninspired and just kind of like, well, I guess we need one of these, and you're like, all right, cool. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. It sounds like you've been playing some pretty good games.
Yeah, no, this last week was fun. A couple of just stinkers, couple of mid ones like the FBC was, but yeah.
And maybe Chrono Odyssey will be good. Is it me, or was there just like a decade of Korean MMO games that were like?
There was a lot.
Yeah.
I think MMOs are more popular in there. Like they love MMOs.
Yeah. There's like that one where you're like a panda, or you could be a panda person or something.
I don't remember the panda MMO.
I don't know, man. But I just remember there being like a good 5 to 10 year period where any news in the MMO world was generally Korean MMO centric. And you're like, I don't know what that game is.
There's a bunch that are being converted. Yeah, a bunch are being translated and converted to Western audiences. So I'm not surprised.
Isn't that interesting how game genres can be so different between countries where you're like, in Korea, StarCraft is still, I think it's still big, like as an esport and all that stuff.
I think so, yeah.
And like it's completely fizzled out over here. Like, I don't know completely, but like it's not what it was at its prime. I think the US has like a hard time investing in
different cultures too.
Yeah.
And sometimes things just take off, and then when it becomes a part of like culture, then kind of hard to get rid of it, right?
It's true. But yeah, it's just interesting where you're like, this market really likes MMOs. And then what is our market like? We like competitive FPSs.
Madden and Call of Duty, baby.
Yeah, Madden and Call of Duty. Oh my gosh. That's for sure, man. Well, wasn't anything else. I guess, we're not... Death Stranding, we haven't been able to play it yet, but by the time this podcast comes out, I think everybody's going to be playing it and streaming it and all that fun stuff. And the reviews are in. It seems pretty good, but from what I hear, it's generally an improvement on all fronts is what I'm hearing from most people.
That's what I hear too.
So, the next gen walking simulator coming.
Can't wait.
Excited. Yeah. And those graphics of those like kind of barren wastelands, man, the pebbles and stuff, they look so real on those rocky wastelands. No, I think they have more interesting environments this time, but
I hope so, because the first game was a little one note with its environments.
Yeah, you're like, here's some rocks and grass for like miles.
Yep.
It saves some money on environmental art, that's for sure.
Yeah. It was a great game, but it was a little one note in its environment throughout the entire
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Gorgeous, though.
Are you going to play it tomorrow?
I'm going to check it out. At least try it, yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on it next podcast.
I would love to share.
Yeah. Well, you want to wrap it up there, Matt?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for dropping by the podcast. Again, if you want to support us, you can check out our Patreon link in the video description where you can watch the podcast live on Mondays and then stick around for a little post-podcast Q&A where we talk about stocks, our favorite methods for cleaning things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're old. Yeah. We're old. That's exactly.
Really interesting subjects. Money well spent. We appreciate you all, and Matt's going to leave you all with some extremely important advice.
My extremely important advice this week is read a book. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, it's good advice. Read the what's the book you're reading called again?
The Stormlight Archive?
No, the other one.
Oh, that one is the Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary. I'm going to check that out. I can't do Sanderson, man. It's like...
That's fair. No, it's fair.
It's like a commitment. It feels like
yeah. No, I don't always recommend Sanderson, like especially not maybe Mistborn, but not Stormlight. Stormlight is thousands and thousands of pages.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
You got to go on a journey, man. You got to be ready for an epic adventure. I don't have the time right now for Sanderson. I'd make it like halfway and then like stop and then forget and then have to restart.
Everything.
Yeah, it'd be a disaster.
I feel that.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care.